name is Trevor Fayas, Senior Software Engineer at Heartland Business Systems, and today we're going to be talking about not reinventing the wheel, a preview of where to find existing tools and a overview of some of the existing tools that are out there to help you build sites quicker and easier. So some may ask, why would I use someone else's code? Why would I use some other tool that I have no knowledge about? Well, that's a good question, but it's an easy one to answer. So, first off, existing tools that are out there that people have built are usually going to be a little bit more flexible and robust than something that you would create yourself. When you're developing code, especially on tight timelines and budgets, you're often thinking about how to get the exact functionality that you want done with as minimal amount of time. Whereas these community tools have been polished and enhanced usually in such a way that it can handle multiple situations because when we publish a tool, we want to make sure that it can cover more than just our exact niche situation. The other thing that's cool about community tools is they're free. So it takes like no time to develop, just a quick installation. So that saves your customers time, saves you time, and ultimately makes everyone happy because free is good. They're also usually better supported by the authoring community. This kind of goes in with the next point that they are also easy to debug because all community submissions of these tools are open source. So you have to be open source to really put it out for the community. And that means that if you have a bug or something's not behaving right, you actually can pull down the entire thing, hook it into your project, and debug it. If they enable SourceLink, you can even do that without pulling down the code. And this allows you to be able to find bugs in the code, submit pull requests, post issues on their GitHub, and hopefully get some better support from it. And again, worst comes to worst, you can fix it yourself, which makes it also easier to upgrade. In times gone past, in Portal Engine days, when you exported a tool or a widget or functionality, you had to do it through the Kentico interface and you had to include all these things with it. And ultimately, it was tied in with that version and you didn't have the source control with it. So when it came to upgrading from one version to the next, you often ended up in a situation where the author hasn't updated their tool and now your site that needed this tool is stuck. That's not really an issue anymore because of the fact that everything's open source. Plus, since .NET Core itself is the majority of what's being used in these tools, and only the Kentico API is really the hooks for Kentico, it means that upgrading to the next version, if the author doesn't upgrade it, you can just pull it down and upgrade it yourself, which is usually just updating an API reference, if that. So using existing tools make a lot of sense. Plus, there's a lot of cool things that our community members have done. So how do you find these tools that are out there? So there's about 3 different areas that you can take a look at to find tools. They're a little bit scattered right now. We're working on unifying them all under one location. But the first place to take a look is going to be the DevNet Marketplace. So if you go to devnet.kentico.com, you're going to see that there's going to be a Marketplace tab up on the top right. And this allows you to find tools that have been submitted to the Marketplace repository. That's the big key. Tools that have been submitted to the Marketplace repository. Sadly, sometimes this is an afterthought to get them up there. But you see here, if you can filter by version 13, you can see all the existing tools that are out there. Okay, so there's some tools that are on here that are not in the other locations and vice versa. We are working on getting everything unified in the next place to take a look at. So this is one, Kentico Marketplace. The other place that we've been working on is just putting everything in an easy to find location on NuGet. So this was Sean Wright's idea, and it was a brilliant one, and I've been adopting it too, and other people as well, is whenever you create a shareable tool, or as we update these shareable tools, we're putting them in a new namespace called Experience Community. So when you're in your Visual Studios searching for NuGet packages, or if you're just on here, if you type in Experience Community, you should see a list of all these different packages that are specifically for community use. We're actually going to go through a couple of these in just a moment to highlight them. But this is a place that we are hopefully moving everything to so that way it's easy to find. Another place you can sometimes find packages is under GitHubs of community leaders. So for instance, there's mine, Kentico DevTrev, and I have a whole bunch of repositories. Again, most of these are already up on the Experience community. There's also Wired Views, which is Sean's. and there's also like HBS Tech. So there's a bunch of different GitHubs of different community leaders and members that have their tools that should be up on the experience community, but sometimes they're in the marketplace, they're in one place or the other. Again, we're working on unifying them. So let's actually take a look at some of these tools and just kind of go through them and highlight some of the really, really cool ones. So I've used almost all these tools that are there. Um, and in fact, I have a video, Ask the Experts #9, the Valentine's Day special, that actually went through all the different tools and allow you to take a look at them. So I'm actually going to bring up a slide from that presentation because it lists them all quite nicely. So here's some tools that were built by Sean Wright at Wired Views. So we have one is the page templates utility. This tool right here allows you to very easily hook up page templates to your page types. It uses a naming schema that if you put the prefix of the page type code name, underscore, and then your template name, it'll automatically filter. So if you want to have your templates filtered on page types, which is most likely the case, this is a great way to do it so you don't have to write a whole bunch of page filters all over the place. Page builder utilities and tag helpers are kind of similar. They allow you to have some tag helpers that can distinguish between edit mode or design mode, or edit mode versus live mode. They can distinguish if page builder context is enabled or not. So a bunch of different things to help kind of toggle things on and off. So we use this in order to say if we're in development mode, then we're going to show all these, like the actual CSS files. If we're in live mode, we're going to use the minified version, things like that. You can also use it to like show help. So if you're in edit mode, you might put a little blip that says, here's how you use me. Please, you haven't selected a page property on the widget, so select that now, and that would only show if you're in the edit mode. Query extensions is another one, and that's a whole bunch of extension methods added to the document query and the object query that allow you to do different things like to list async and different operations. So that's a nice one just to help with your API calls to be able to leverage some additional functionality. The app settings to JSON registration allows you to register your application settings into that one. You have to take a look at. I haven't used that one myself, so I'm not going to speak too much on it, but it allows you to hook up your settings easier. The Experience Community CQRS is another one that I'm not sure if it's launched just yet, but Sean has written a couple blog articles about it, about how to make every single API query its own function, and that way you really separate everything out. The functionality gets separated out. So he's working on getting that one published to the community. You can read his blog articles to learn a little bit more. Then he has some features, page navigation redirects, that restores the functionality, being able to say that this page should redirect to the first child, to the first of this page type, or redirect to this other URL. So that re-enables that functionality from Portal Engine days. SVG media dimensions allows you to be able to get the height and width, so that way when your page is rendering, it doesn't have the layout shift. So if you have SVG, it would inject the height and width onto it. RSS feed, pretty self-explanatory, puts an RSS feed capabilities out there. And custom page data control extender. This is a really cool tool. It allows you to very easily leverage the node custom data and document custom data fields to put in other information onto your document without having it to add fields. So we leverage this quite a lot as well. Definitely recommend you take a look at that one. So these are some of the Heartland Business System ones. This is our company. One is MVC caching. It is a tool that allows you to track your cache dependencies across your API calls, so you can leverage the ASP.NET Core cache attribute, as well as a couple other tools in there for that. So we have that on all our projects. Some editor tools, Bootstrap layout tool. So for those that are using the page builder, you can actually leverage then the Bootstrap and set your columns, set your CSS, all that stuff. Page Builder Container is a small tool that allows you to add header footers around your widgets, and you can actually control that in the admin itself. So you can make different, you probably remember from Portal Engine days as the widget or web part containers, same thing. And then the partial widget page allows you to actually change the context of Kentico inline and then be able to render other widget zones from other documents. So we use that when we're doing like tabs to load in the tabs from other pages with widgets and such. So that's that functionality. We have the localizer. So that allows you to use the Kentico resource strings in your iHTML localizer and iString localizer in .NET Core. By default, it was not there. You had to just use a resx file. But now this allows you to have a fallback of the database if it can't find it. Wildcard URLs, again, allows you to, in the admin, set additional wildcard URLs to a page. So if you have like multiple pages that you want to go to the same spot, you can have that, as well as it allows you to take those wildcard parameters and inject it into the route data so you can access that. So Portal Engine had that functionality, dynamic routing in 12 had the functionality, so this is that for 13. URL redirection is an advanced URL module that allows you to set URLs, be able to pass along query string parameters, hashtags even, and have it route to your pages. So it's kind of like having all your 301 redirects. You can actually do it in the admin then. The authorization attribute, this allows you to actually have user, role, module permission, and also page security on any controller or any page builder template. So if someone is using or hitting a page and it uses a page builder template, you can use this to actually specify if they have permissions or not. And then it redirects them either to the default login page or permission denied, or you can even specify custom error if you're doing like a API that you say you need these permissions to access this API, you can leverage that as well. So that's a great one that really makes it where you have full control over your page security. HPS.kentico.ecommerce is a complete tool that allows you to start up your e-commerce site. So back in Portal Engine days, you had all the existing templates of your shopping cart item, your shopping cart, your checkout, etc., etc. This right here gives you that back in .NET Core, where it gives you all the functionality baked into Kentico, all the features that e-commerce uses, very easy to extend and leverage, and you can make your own payment methods for it. So if you're looking to do e-commerce, that's the tool you're going to want to use. And lastly, we have our bigger tool, which is the relationship extended. That allows you in the admin to leverage related pages and have type limits on it, have ordering on it. It also hooks up and allows you to do other relationships that are hard to do normally in Kentico, things like page to objects or object to object with ordering. So basically allows you to relate any type of thing that you want within Kentico and has some tools there for that. So we leverage that a lot because we use page templates and relationships for a lot of our tool set. And then we also have some other tools worth mentioning. We have a staging configuration module by Blue Modus that allows you to specify which things should automatically push in Kentico staging and which ones should not push in which environments. We have an events and breadcrumbs module by Eric Duggar. Especially the events one's pretty nice. It uses calendar.io, which is a great calendar interface. We have upsert alternative forms also by Blue Modus that allows you to have the same create or update form, if I remember correctly. And then a page asset folder, one more by Blue Modus that allows you when you create a page to make an assets folder automatically added in there. So for a lot of people that use the content tree to build out the actual page content, that allows you to just automatically add that little folder so your users don't have to. All right, so now we've seen some existing tools. Let's take a look at what happens if none of those fits what you're looking to do. So you need to create some new functionality, and there is an existing tool for it. So here's some tools and resources to help you not necessarily start from scratch. So still use existing tools to build your new tool. One is going to be documentation. Obviously, if you want to do something in Kentico, you want to know how to do it, documentation is going to be the first place to look. What people don't realize though is in documentation, there also is an API example. And that actually allows you to see right here how to do basic operations in Kentico, especially around like adding pages, removing pages automatically, because there's a lot of different things to consider like workflows and check in, check out, or how to do different online marketing stuff. This actually has a whole bunch of code snippets to how to create your test, how to start it, how to end it, how to log to it. So this API examples is a underutilized great little treasure that exists within the documentation. So definitely leverage that because it's oftentimes like, oh, okay, just copy and paste and you're all set to go. Next one is if you are trying to find a function in Kentico itself to see if something exists, the API reference is a great place to look. It sometimes is hard to find what you're looking for, but if you're looking for like some sort of method that might do this, like maybe around say user roles, you can see user role. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's hard to find. You have to type the right thing in. You can find what the different methods are, what the parameters are. You can do a lot of this with IntelliSense as well, but this allows you to search all the whole area to try to find certain items, especially like interfaces. Like you can do like if we type interface, if it'll show up. Gives a list of all the different interfaces that exist and things like that. Another thing you can do is take a look at existing repositories, again, back on GitHub. So if you see some functionality that's close to what you're looking to do, but not quite it, you can take a look at how they did that. Or sometimes I'll even use some of the existing repositories or my own existing repositories in order to see how did I do that again? Or how did I wire that up? Oh yeah, that's it. So keep in mind that, again, all these projects are open source, so you can see how they did certain things, how they injected this or that, how they overrode this or that. That way you shouldn't have to reinvent the wheel from scratch. Last topic we're going to talk about is starting sites. So we've talked about tools to build your site. Sometimes you want a place to start completely, or just a general place that has a lot of different things to reference. So want to mention a couple ones. So first is Dancing Goat. That's the atypical demo site that when you do your Kentico Experience installer, you can install Dancing Goat. Now, I will say that you do not want to use this as your starting site. A lot of people, well, not a lot, but I've seen people who take Dancing Goat and then try to strip all the stuff they don't use out of it and try to undo all the styles and the HTML, and it just becomes a nightmare. So Dancing Goat is really great for referencing how Kentico did certain things. And it's not always going to say that this is the only way to do it, but it's a great way to say that here's a way to do it. Especially when it comes to like A/B testing, anything that's the enterprise EMS level functionality and marketing, they have that on their site because that's their demo site. So that's a great place to start to take a look at like, hey, how do I do this? Oh, there it is. Another one is the Mayo Clinic GitHub. So this is part of Kentico training as well, and that has a lot of different references to different functionality pieces. So for example, in the Mayo Clinic, in the training, it talks about how to hook up external authentication with like Google or Microsoft, or I think Twitter or Facebook or Twitter, one of those. So we wanted to add that functionality to our baseline site, so we literally just copied and paste, grab the code from there. So taking a look at the Mayo Clinic and also taking the Kentico training are going to be great resources to kind of know what's out there. And then lastly, it's going to get into our baseline site. So Heartland Business Systems has put out a baseline site that allows, it really is a starting point. That is the intention. In fact, all of our projects, we use the baseline as our starting point. So the baseline was designed in such a way that the goal of it was to take all the core functionality of a website and have that ready. So things like navigation, side navigation, mega menu support, sitemaps, searching, tab systems, all these different pieces that build that are pretty common to all websites, and have that ready and baked in. And then nothing else. So no like styling, no, I mean, it has Bootstrap CSS in there, but that's about it. So really every piece is made that you can take whatever your existing template is and put that markup in there and your own styles and everything like that. So check it out at github.com/hbstech, and then the Kentico 13 core baseline. On the wiki, it goes through the whole feature set. So you have navigation, page header footer, SEO metadata, navigation redirects, page types, partial widget pages, some widgets like the image widget, which doesn't come by default. So we have the image widget. It has account management baked into it, so be able to log in, log out, reset password, etc., etc. It's ready for e-commerce if you want. It has the error page system, sitemaps, robot.txt, some logic to format your forms in a Bootstrap fashion. the CSS and JavaScript bundling with gzip compression, and also again has a lot of the tools that we've mentioned baked into it as well. So it talks about how to do your dependency injection. You have some special vary by header caching. So if you're doing caching at all, you have that built into it, the authorization, etc., etc. It has a whole slew of existing repositories that you may want to leverage, and that's again, even if you don't use the baseline, there's a bunch of pieces of functionality that you can grab from here and just, hey, I want that, I want this. Oh, I like that functionality. So you can do that and grab them from here. Like the media repository allows you to get your attachments and your media items based on the GUID and does all that logic for you. And then also goes through just the methodology and the design patterns of how we built this out with examples of everything. So that's the baseline site, and I hope that you take a look at that. And again, feel free to download it, check it out, try it out. And we're almost ready to launch another revision of the baseline. So we've been adding new functionality that's going to contain a couple of these extra things in there, like the external authentication is what we're working on right now to get there. So keep in mind that it's always updating and evolving a little bit, and you can take a look at the different pull requests to see what was changed in it, what bugs were found or fixed or whatever, and then of course you can submit to it. Lastly, if you have any questions at all, where to find some help, one, of course, is the DevNet Q&A. That's going to allow you to just ask some questions, get some answers. It's more in a forum like methodology where you post the question, you wait for someone to reply back with an answer. But a quicker feedback, and one that I actually prefer, is the Kentico community Slack channel. So it's just kentico-community.slack.com. All the MVPs are on there. Other Kentico developers are on there. You ask a question, and you'll get people answering and talking about it and discussions, and even getting feedback about how to do this or that, or what do you think on this. That's a great place. It is invite only. I think all of the MVPs have ability to invite people. So just email myself or one of the other MVPs, and we can get you added onto that pretty quickly. And that ends this presentation. So hopefully some of these tools kind of piqued your interest. And the only last thing that I don't have on this slide, but hopefully they'll put a link to a video somewhere or in the description, is I'm creating a video that shows you how to share your functionality. So if you create some functionality, it shows you how to package that up into a separate library, get it all set with GitHub, get it up in NuGet, and get that published. So keep an eye out for that one and check that out. And please, indeed, be part of the community, start sharing your tools, and just make everyone better with that. I hope you have a great day and enjoy the rest of the connections.